Happy Frieren Fridays, everybody. My gosh, episode 6 of Frieren was so good. So good. There's like a mixture of so much good stuff in here, like obviously getting so much into Stark and Eisen's kind of history together, tying that in with Eisen and Frieren, getting a little bit of I don't know, they're trying to build up some sort of relationship between Fern and Stark. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere, but it obviously seems like there is that tension that there's trying to chip away at, mostly from Fern's side. Stark's just like, whatever. It really doesn't feel like Stark is like after Fern or anything like that. It's just more of an aspect of like, why is she so off-putting? It's kind of like a little bit of a discovering love kind of thing, I guess they can be doing there, but so many great little moments of animation. Obviously, the fight with Stark and the dragon was absolutely insane looking. Just, I'll get into more of that in a minute. The whole that little cute look that Frieren gave Stark when she first came down there after the dragon's defeated was just, I gotta gift that. And yes, technically her little disgusted look that she gave the guard, it wasn't a disgusted look, but it looked like a disgusted look. I immediately thought of Iapon. I'm sorry. My mind immediately went there. And if you've seen Iapon, your mind immediately went there as well. Don't act like you didn't think that. But yeah, just a great episode overall. But let's dive into it. Obviously, the opening segment having this little moment between Fern and Stark, which was kind of a carryover from last episode. Just Fern really hitting Stark on the idea of if he would run away. And I like this because, again, this goes back to what I was kind of thinking about with Stark's history and this idea that both him and Eisen have had this similar experience of running away. But it didn't seem like it kind of relied too heavy on that. It just kind of left it very vague in the idea that Stark's like, look, they see me as a hero. I mean, yeah, if the dragon came, I want to say that I would stand there and fight the dragon. But I'm afraid. I'm obviously afraid. And so, yes, I might run away. And it does seem like that in the following episode, or the following scene, having this whole moment where Frieren and Fern go out there and he's gone. But no, he shows up. Like a little brief moment of Feren's like, yep, looks like he ran away. Starts tugging at Fern because she doesn't want to play tag with the dragon. It was a nice little callback to that whole thing. But yes, Stark showing up, saying that he's going to fight it. But this is where we get a lot of the explanation around Eisen and Stark. This idea that, yeah, this scar that he has wasn't from some shadow dragon. It was from Eisen. This is one brief moment where Eisen actually struck at Stark. Their parting was of anger. And this all came down to this idea that Eisen was afraid of Stark. Like, there was an instinctual desire within him to strike out at Stark because, like, a self-defense, I guess, is the thing. It was this aspect that Eisen seen some, like, strong potential within Stark. This whole thing where the dragon fled the village wasn't a fluke. Yes, dragons, it seems like they're kind of hitting very heavily on this last 2 episodes. Dragons seem to be on a whim. They choose their destination, they kind of just move around, they are smart. But Frieren's not believing that that's the case with Stark. That this dragon is cautious. This dragon's smart, and this dragon is being cautious of Stark. And Eisen's seen the same thing. That there's like some power and potential within Stark. And that's why Eisen was afraid of him and struck back at him, which I thought was kind of sad and very tragic in the idea that your master, it seems like Stark traveled with Eisen for a long time. It shows them in this Northern Territory border, hanging out and telling about stories about his life with Frieren and the rest of the party. So they had a bond, but it does look like at some point, Eisen had this instinctual fear of Stark and struck out at him. And he obviously regrets that. I do like this idea that despite all the journey, despite being heroes, they still are willing to kind of show these characters are flawed in a way. That Eisen would do something so regretful as striking his pupil. And yes, I do like the fact that Frieren even sees Eisen and Stark. As he's standing there and he's shivering, he's shaking, Frieren's like, you're just like Eisen. At some point in the past, Eisen was afraid of some monster, or at least this one case they showed. He could have done this multiple times, but yes, showing this idea that, yeah, I'm afraid. I'm willing to admit that I'm afraid. It is interesting that he admits that, yes, fear is what brought me here. Fear is a good thing because that is what brought me here. And I'm curious if that is in the idea that what they kind of hinted at in the last episode, this idea that both Eisen and Stark at some point fled their home village, fled from danger, and were the only survivors of their village. And this idea that that fear that they once had pushed them to get stronger to fight the next thing. And thus, that's why Eisen believed that fear was a good thing. That was a thing that led me to where I am now. I was afraid here, I got stronger, and so that's why I'm here now. That was really cool. But yes, obviously, the dragon fight, so freaking good. So freaking good. I I think the key thing, the one that obviously like the earlier segment where you see the dragon kind of build up that flame and that you have that kind of that light effect that kind of hits the dragon looks super good. But the one part that stood out the most to me was when Stark first jumps onto the dragon's face and you have kind of that perspective shot of like the camera's attached to the dragon's head and it's kind of shooting towards the front. You see Stark is hanging on there and you see like his whole body kind of has that feel of velocity as the dragon's moving its head around. You see the landscape beyond them kind of moving around. It just looks so freaking good. It looks so good. But yeah, just a lot of really fantastic shots kind of running around, jumping over objects, sliding under the dragon. It just looks so, it just flowed so freaking well. Now, yes, I'm not a big fan of these shots where you have the character running across some sort of plain looking terrain. But I think one, the terrain is plain, and two, the fact that they just did it so well and kind of flowing it, making it, I guess, three-dimensional. This idea that the character's not just running across a plain ground, he's actually traversing things. They did a lot of things creatively in this whole scenario with this fight that I thought just looked, it just looked so gorgeous. It looked so gorgeous. It was like over before I knew it, but it was so gorgeous. They did an absolutely incredible job with that whole scenario. And yes, I love the fact that it all kind of concludes this idea that Stark gives us one big hit, and he like slams it down and he says, "Go, Frieren." And I'm like, wait, is he dead or are you just pinning him down? Yes, sure enough, Frieren's like, no, it's okay. He's dead. So the dragon just sprawled out there. I love it. I love that so much more than it turning into Frieren and Fern just like, just barraging this dragon with attacks, because it was a proof to Stark that he could do it. In the end, he got to be the hero. In the end, this journey that he did was for himself. I think it would have been so less more impactful if Frieren does join in, then all this training that Stark has been doing is for naught. Plus, it also plays into what Aizen's saying, this idea that Stark is incredible, that he's going to be a powerful person at some point. He's got potential there. And so to have him overcome this dragon by himself is a boost to his own self-confidence, but also this idea of a acknowledgement of the power that he has within himself. It's really cool. I loved it to death. I really respect they did that. But no, I like Frieren walking up and pats him on the back. You exceeded my expectations. She looks so freaking cute. Frieren looks so cute. It's like this that rare moment where you see like this cute side of Frieren, like just, kind of more, not that Frieren is an emotionless doll. She's never been. I typically don't like emotionless doll characters in shows. She's not. She's by far not. They've shown enough expressions out of her. It's just that she doesn't go out of her way to show expressions. So this little brief moment seeing that, it seems genuine. It's kind of one of those things where if you say, I like you too many times, eventually you kind of kill the impact of the word. You dilute it. And to kind of see those brief moments of her being positive or whatever, showing expression, it makes it that much more impactful. But yes, the spoils, digging through all the spoils and getting kind of a little brief insight into Aizen himself. We get a little more later as well. This idea that, yeah, this kind of is the push that Stark needs to follow Frieren. It's this idea that at some point, Aizen told Stark that, yeah, those 10 years of journeys was ridiculous. They kind of imply the idea. It literally confirms it in this little scene. They're pretty much confirming at this point that the reason why their journey took 10 years, because I know this has been like it was a debated topic on our Discord. The reason why their journey took 10 years partly was because Himmel was playing into Frieren, and Frieren was dragging them everywhere to find magic spells, like useless spells. They show this little scenario where she finds crushed ice, basically, but she doesn't have syrup. Aizen himself is specifically saying how it's ridiculous. She's dragging us into these ridiculous journeys, and he doesn't see any point in it. But yes, Aizen does tell Stark that later on he realized that these are great. These were great memories. This ridiculous journey they did was good in the end. Through Himmel's perspective, I want to have a ridiculous journey. I want something that when we're done, we can look back and have a smile from it. And that's technically what they all played into. They played into Frieren's kind of whims of finding magic and going into dungeons and stuff. I'd argue that a lot of that 10-year journey was them getting stronger, and that could be part of it. They had to keep going into these stupid little things that Frieren wanted, these magic spells, and they got stronger through that journey. I really do like that aspect that it's playing into this, but in actuality it's this. It's playing into her whims And she never realized, and I think that's going to be a really sad thing that's going to come to realize for Frieren, and maybe through Stark and talking about Eisen. This idea that they did what she wanted to do, and she never kind of acknowledged that throughout their journey. She's kept wanting to get into these spells, and they're like, these are useless spells. Why are we doing this? This is ridiculous. But in the end, when you look back, Hamel said, let's do it, because I want things to smile at. And everybody sees that. And now Frieren has seen that this journey they made. And I wonder if at some point she's going to realize, oh, that was them playing into my whims. They did it for me. It's super good. Like, there's so many. It's kind of one of those things where I question myself on this sometimes, this idea that, yes, it seems like it's super simple, but there's so much context to it that you can draw out of it. But at the same time, every now and then you wonder if you're drawing too much out of it. And I do have to stop myself at some points. This idea that, am I drawing too much out of this? But it seems like that's what they're saying here. It's super good. It's super good. It's why I love it. But yes, they part from the town. Everybody says their goodbyes. And then they have to test the spell. Fern tests it. Go figure Fern has to test it because you got to look at Frieren. Sorry, there's not much to look at. And then he looks at Stark. It's too small. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Granted, yes, we all wanted it to kind of show us first-person perspective. It's fine. It was enough to get the point across. But yeah, that's when we get to the Northern Territories checkpoints. And this is where it's kind of establishing a little bit of world building here and this idea that there is this border. They're not letting anybody through because there's this increase of activity that's happening in the north. It seems like the northern region is just under a lot of attack from the remnants of the Demon Lord and all that kind of stuff. So they can't get through. Frieren takes this as an opportunity to learn her spells. Fern doesn't like this because she knows that Frieren's perfectly fine with this, sitting around doing nothing for 2 years because apparently this whole war is going on or this battle's happening. And so she goes immediately to Stark, who she kind of turned down a minute ago, and says, you don't want to be stuck here, right? No, I don't really. Good, you're normal. Fern's finally got somebody that says sitting around for years is not a good thing, Frieren. She finally has an ally. She can now essentially outvote Frieren when it comes to situations like this. We're not sitting around here for years like you would want to do, Frieren. So yeah, they look for a way to get out. We get a little brief moment of Fern and Stark overlooking the Northern Territory, which I really like this because it kind of hits this idea that Fern wants to know why Stark is trying so hard to find this opening. It seems like he's more desperate than Fern is. And he points out that it's because he has limited time. I thought there was going to be an element of Stark kind of saying, I kind of want to get past this little barrier it seems like we have. Like, I thought that he was doing it to help Fern and he wanted to do it just to kind of appease her. But no, he technically has a limited time. He wants to do this journey just like Eisen did and to be able to return and tell him the stories. Because yeah, unfortunately, besides Frieren, the old party, the only one that's alive now is Eisen. And Eisen told him how great this journey was, this ridiculous journey that he went on. And he hopes that he can return to tell Eisen those stories. He wants me to do this journey, so I want to come back and repay him for all he's done for me by doing this journey. And it's kind of a nice little cap into the story of the episode because, again, it kind of plays out pretty heavily that Eisen regrets the idea that they kind of parted ways on anger because Eisen struck out at him and he parted ways with him. So it's kind of a sign that Stark doesn't hate Eisen. He does really respect his master. The master did so much for him. And again, technically has been taking care of him for a long time. So it's super cute. But no, I love the scenes after this. Apparently, Frieren's being chased around by the guards and she thinks that she did something wrong. And eventually they corner them and the guy just kind of drops down and starts pretty much begging for forgiveness. And Frieren's got that look of like disgust, like, oh crap, I don't like where this is going. I kind of assumed that Frieren was thinking that they were essentially apologizing and they were going to beg her to help them with something and so she didn't want to get involved with it. But no, it kind of just turned this whole thing where they didn't realize it was Frieren and they're like, oh yeah, sorry, please go. And they had this big opening ceremony, which that was apparently what Frieren did not want. She didn't want to be sent off to the north just like they did last time with this big celebration. But it kind of caps it on a cute note and the idea that Stark wanted to see this. It's like, I'm happy this happened because I get to see the same thing that Eisen did. My master got to see this view, and so it's a good thing that I got to see this. It's like throw these little jokes in there and then kind of cap into it with some really heartwarming stuff. But yeah, it's gonna suck that they all kind of assume that Frieren came there because she knows about the Demon King's forces that are up in the north, and that she obviously came here to defeat those forces. She's like, no, I'm not here for that. I just want to study my magic. I wish I didn't have to go. But yeah, really, really really fantastic episode. Just so many cute Frieren moments. Yeah, dragging Fern around. Fern not liking the whole situation. A little bit of love between, or at least bonding between Fern and Stark. I do really feel like, I hope they don't drag that out too much, but it does look like Fern and Stark are not going to really see eye to eye too quickly. It's not like super combative, so it's not annoying. So I don't think it's really playing on it too heavy, but it is kind of a little bit of tension there. But no, I just really loved how they kind of tied Aizen, Frieren, Stark, the ridiculous 10 years, how much Aizen really through Stark, Frieren's getting an insight into Aizen that she didn't realize. And the idea that Aizen really did cherish those 10 years. But yeah, super good. I cannot wait for more. Gosh, it's like it's over before I think about it. But yes, I loved it. Can't wait for the next episode. Slight spoilers here. They did release the next key art for apparently episode 7. So things are going to get crazy. I don't know how that's going to turn out. I cannot wait to see Kishinika. It's basically Kishinika. But we'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get on my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.